They say in them are some benefit and there's some harm, and the harm outweighs the benefit, so abstain from it. Alcohol may have some benefits in alcohol dissolving certain chemicals we do use in medicines, for example. But consuming alcohol, it defogs your mind. That's why Quran says, avoid altogether. Arab society where consuming wine like no other. Remember I said some poets were so good in describing wine. So when the Quran came, it came with a rehabilitation system in which in several steps it banned them. Initially it says, okay, alcohol, when you come to prayer, like we're going to go now shortly, so I have to go shortly, don't come when you're drunk. So people realize that, okay, because you have to say and you need to hear and understand what you're saying. So they were training them, like, oh, maybe alcohol isn't a good thing because I have to pray 5 times a day and so on. And gradually, the Quran introduced to them the alcohol, the handiworks of Satan's face, they were afraid. What they did at that time, they were all ready. They came with their barrels of wine and they broke this barrel on the streets and it was like flooding like river. That's how it was described in our historical books. And they were able to do that. So the Quran came to reform the society in a way that's practical too. So many of the reforms that you will see in the Quran, it's not like one day reform like that, because God is just and merciful. He knows you better than you know yourself. So when the Quran wants to transform people from a polytheistic belief system to a monotheistic belief system, it does the same. It reasons with you. Why? It tells you, why do you worship something that cannot harm you or benefit you? You make with your own hands. Why do you worship them? It reasons with them. Say, why are you worshipping someone that cannot benefit you at all? And they know that because they made it themselves. And various other reasons. And the Quran engages them with them rationally. That is why you will find the Quran has so many, they call the didactics, whatever, I don't know the term for it. The Quran employs this kind of mechanisms to engage with people's mind and the heart so that eventually people surrender to its message. Because you'll be fighting and quarreling and fighting and eventually say, this is Quran, has to be from God. Because you know it speaks to you, and it speaks to you as if it knows you better than you know yourself. When you realize at that point, you know the Quran is from God. So we recommend you, we humbly request you to look and read the Quran with an open reflection. Look for what it says. What does it say about God? What does it say about your purpose in life, which is to worship God? What does it say about hereafter? Heaven and hell, and who's going to go there? The one who is an arrogant disbeliever, stubborn, arrogant disbeliever in God is going to go to hell. But the one who believes and the one who does righteous deeds, as described in the Quran, for them are paradise, place of eternal joy, bliss. Then there will be someone who will be then eventually, they will have to pass some other test. There will be people in Al-A'raf in between. There are some people in between, and they will then have to have further tests for them to justify to themselves that they they are worthy of going to paradise or not.
Actually, in the Bible, there's a verse that says about the lukewarm, those who sit on the fence. It says God will spew them out. So they'll be, you're either here or you're not even, you're indecisive. Yeah. You don't really believe.
There's a chapter in the Quran called Al-A'raf. Fitting on the fence, there is there. But people who are very sensible like yourselves, very inquisitive, very rational, very reasonable, when you read the Quran, you will see how the Quran engages with you on the level that you are. And if you disagree, ask yourself, why do I disagree? Do I disagree because of some kind of biases which is unjustified, or biases that are justified? If a vegetarian says, Quran says you can sacrifice an animal and eat, is it because they're biased of vegetarianism? Or is it because that's the reality, you shouldn't be eating animals? If God allows you to eat vegetables and animals, and you're saying, look, but I don't feel like eating animals because I'm whatever, but you're not even made that way. You have enzymes in your body that digest meat. You have teeth, canine teeth, that chews meat. You're actually made that way. So you can't justify saying, no, I cannot become a Muslim because I'm a vegetarian. Because vegetarianism is an ideology that you have taken from a philosophy who themselves, the proponents of them, were meat eaters. Hinduism, where the philosophy comes from, they themselves were meat eaters. They were eating meats. They were sacrificed the animals, they were eating them, consuming them. It's in their scripture. But it's coming from a different tradition, different reasons why people are trying to be vegetarian, because the idea of showing compassion and mercy, they want to extend to all other forms of creation. but with the detriment and harm from this universal principle of like eating animal products and so on. So is it the bias which is justified? What we will say, and I would submit, you would not find a single justifiable bias of disagreeing on the Quran, whether in its ethics, in morality, in its teachings of doctrine, or its laws and precepts. You will not find that. But you can only verify that after reading and scrutinizing the Quran yourselves. I can only, what's it called, tell you, but that's like preaching to you. It's not something about convincing you. You need to read yourself to be convinced of it. And the way you do that is reading the text with an open mind. And this is what our humble request to both of you, right? If you would like some Quran, we have English translation at the corner there. I can get some from a friend and give it to both of you. You can follow me because I'm going to go that way. And ask questions, because the root of learning is only when you ask questions, because otherwise, if these questions are get answered, you will not arrive to the truth, because you will somehow bypass the truth. When you ask and the answer is found and it makes sense, accept it. If the truth was found in, say, an ism, an ideology which is called, blah 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 ism, we should be ready to accept it, wherever it might be. So we are saying the truth is in the final revelation in the Quran. If it's found in it, be ready to accept it. For whose benefit? For your benefit, not mine. For your benefit. You benefit for yourself in this life, because God will give you a life of tranquility and happiness even more, and you will be saved from the hellfire in the hereafter, and you will be in the yes, important. People don't realize that. People don't want to talk about hellfire. People don't even think about death today. They don't not only think about death, they don't think about hellfire. But God says, my friend, just one final thing. The final success is man zuhziha anin nar. The one who has saved himself from the hellfire is the one who is successful. وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ and entered paradise. This is the real success in the eyes of God. So it's not about how much money and wealth and fame and love and so on that you have. That is not the measure of success. Measure of a success of a human being is, are we saved from the hellfire, and are we entering the paradise? Because this life is momentary. How many years are you going to live? Another 150 years? No way. We don't live more than 120 years in this life anymore. But the heaven and hell, there will be no death. There will be life forever and ever and ever and ever. This life, which has no end compared to this life, it's not even twinkle of an eye. So why are we just immersing ourselves in this life when we should be feeling like a traveler? When a traveler travels to one place to the other, like when you go to some country or somewhere, do you take everything and then you decorate the hotel that you go to, whether it's Hilton or whatever, right? Do you say, oh, this is my life? No. You follow this as a transition to a place that you're going and you're going to come back to wherever. So why think this life is all that you got? This life should be thought of as a transition to the next real life. Darul Akhirah. This is the hereafter, which is the real life. God says the real abode, final abode of all destinations. So we have to be ready for that. We can't just simply say, I don't have time for that. I have parties to go, jobs to work with, and so on. Do we know when we're going to die? We don't. Yeah. We don't know when we're going to die. Because we don't know when we're going to die, we can't just live. Yes. And then, of course, you'll lose a chance because you'll one-way ticket to hell. Anyone who commits suicide, one-way ticket to hell. God doesn't give them paradise because you have taken something God has entrusted on you, life, which wasn't yours in the first place. And you took it away and you didn't fulfill your purpose. No. So in Islam, the legislation is clear. Suicide, hellfire, one-way ticket. Right? So that means we have to be ready before death approaches us to know and to fulfill the purpose. Not only know the purpose, but to fulfill it. So if our purpose is to worship God, we must do that. We must worship God. No. When you say now,
as in currently now.
Now, if you think about now, this is a relative term because hellfire and heaven is the abode in the hereafter. But anyone who's died, they've already known themselves what they've earned and what they have done in terms of their belief and so on. They would know if they're in their graves whether the breath of fresh air coming from paradise or they're being punished within the graves because of they are the aboders or what's it called, the inhabitants of the hellfire or not.
So no one is actually in hell now.
No. It's like the day of judgment has already happened the moment you're dead, right? So we're talking about a life or a time which is not like as our understanding of time, in a total different way of time where it doesn't fit with our concept of time, right? It's a concept. It's called the life of barzakh, or a life in which everything is in a different world together, right? But at that time, still, you would not even realize people will eventually go back to life again. Every single one of us will be resurrected, and we will be in the front of God, accountable for our belief and deeds. Every single one of us, we will be given our deeds, whether it's a good deed or a bad deed. God tells us good deeds will be given on the right hand, bad deeds on the left hand, and our books will speak for ourselves. People in the past, they didn't know how can book record everything. When God says you have two angels on your shoulders recording all your good and bad deeds, people might think like, how can it be? Now we know how our digital media can record speech and vision and picture, moving picture, on a solid state disc or SSD or whatever, right? On a CD, on a DVD, on a cassette. How do you even transcribe? Yeah. No, cloud doesn't mean that, but we're talking about this. So these are recorded. So there are scribes who are recording all our actions. So you think, what? I did this thing, I stole someone, I raped someone and so on. You're going to get away with it? No. The evidence will present it to you. Video evidence perhaps, all of this. You will see it in front of you, you cannot deny. Not only that, your hands, your legs, your skin, they will testify. God will give them the ability. Remember, the way we speak is what? It's just a machine that is assembled together that generates sounds which are meaningful as our brain tells us, utter in this way, and we have agreed to understand these sounds to mean this. The skin, whatever, it's all same thing. They will be assembled, or they will be given the ability to speak or say things. It doesn't have to be vocal cords to speak, but they will speak. Just like when we say my phone speaks, it doesn't have a vocal cord, but it still speaks. There will be no getting away. So we will see everything, and God says, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Whoever does an atom weight of good, like a mustard seed, or the smallest ant, they will see it. And whosoever does an atom, meaning the smallest weight of things of a bad deed, they will see it. The good and the bad, no matter how small you've done, they will see it in the day of judgment. That means, remember, if you found 1 penny from someone's wallet and you took it and used it, you'll be accountable for that, even for 1 pence. Even for 1 pence. You think it's just 1 pence? It wasn't yours to begin with. Or you may have stolen from someone, stolen a lollipop. That wasn't yours. We have to account. That's why the Islamic lifestyle is such that every action we do, it falls on 5 categories. Is it totally prohibited? Is it obligatory? Is it recommended? Is it disliked? Or is it permissible? In the middle. Permissible means whether I drink apple juice or orange juice, it doesn't matter, it's permissible. It's not an obligation, it's not a prohibition, it's not a recommendation, or it's not disliked. Stealing, raping, killing, genocide, whatever, all forbidden acts. No Muslim can do that. Obligation. Obligation to speak the truth, to be honest, to be someone who is always upright. All of these moral virtues God has commanded. Be nice to your mother and your father. Be kind. Don't even say oof. Quran says don't even say oof to your parents, but extend the wings of mercy when they both reach old age. That is how the Quran gives us the legislations and moral guidance and so on. Every single thing that we do, we need to know where does it fit in. We can pray our obligatory prayers like I'm going to go now, or it could be something that's permissible. Anything that's recommended and so on, I can get more and more reward. So Muslims always try to worship more and more God, to earn this reward more and more. The reason being to please Allah. It's not that when you love someone, do you love on defense? You love with all your heart. You even want to die for them, isn't it? That's the love that is expressed in its fuller form. You want to even die for them. Say, I will die for you, whatever. So when you want to worship Allah with all your love, you want to do exactly what He says, even more, right? So we should try to reform ourselves, to come away from friends, and to show the love of our God to what He deserves, right? As much as we can. And that's what Muslim always constantly strive to do that, and that is known as jihad. That is the inner struggle that we all do to perfect our ability, to become more and more righteous and virtuous in the sight of God. That's the internal struggle. Of course, struggle to defend your country, of your religion, of your honor and so on. Of course, it's also called jihad, but the jihad of the nafs that's what we're talking about. So don't somehow be confused with people saying, oh, jihad means just chopping off your heads in a battle. It's not like that. So as Muslims, when you become one, what will transform you? It will free you from the shackles of slavery to fashion, slavery to people's dictates, slavery to economic machinery, and it will make you a servant God who is willingly submitting and surrendering to the one they love and appreciate and revere and they want to worship. That is what Islam will make you. You will feel honored and dignified when you put your head on the ground worshipping God and giving Him thanks and not doing that to any human being. Because your honor and your dignity, you will not bow down to any man. How much powerful, how much rich they may be. Whether they're king and the leaders, I'm going to go. Yeah, leaders, whatever they might be, right? So I'm going to wrap up now because my brothers are going. I hope the conversation that we had will give you a starting point to start your journey in exploring Islam, and God opens up your heart to the truth of Islam.
From Jamaica? Yeah, about Jamaica. More, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate you listening. An intelligent questions that you ask. I mean, signs of someone who's very, very intelligent. Okay.
Do you know the history of Islam in Jamaica?
Okay. I'm going to go, brother. If you want to continue, that's fine. But if you're coming along this way, on the corner there where we are praying, I can give you a copy of the Quran in English. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.